noise of the rushing world. A gentle voice, a story unfurled, wisdom from a distant shore, opening a brand new door.
The afternoon sun is stretching long across the floor, casting a warm, golden glow. It feels incredibly peaceful, doesn't it? I hope that, as you pause your busy steps, to sit with a warm cup of tea and listen to my voice, this moment becomes a small, precious gift for you. Sometimes, the world feels inexplicably cold. We see people indifferent to the pain of others, and our own hearts can turn numb. We find ourselves lost in the face of emotions we can't understand. But in those moments, we are reminded that what truly lets us breathe again is the small spark of warmth handed to us by someone else. Tonight, I want to share the story of a very special boy. It's from the novel Almond by Son Won-pyung. Since its release in 2016, this story has left a profound resonance in the hearts of many. Written with the sharp, vivid eye of a film director, it unfolds like a movie before your eyes. Our protagonist, Yun-jae, is a boy who cannot feel. The amygdalae in his brain, the almond-shaped parts responsible for processing emotions, are smaller than average. He doesn't know fear, sadness, or joy. The way Yun-jae navigates a world full of strangers, seeking the meaning of connection and empathy, poses a heavy question. What does it truly mean to be human? Close your eyes, find a comfortable position, and let me invite you into the quiet, yet fierce growing pains of this young boy. Part 1. The small almond in my head. Inside my head, there are almonds. Some say they look like peach pits. Others say they're just like almonds. They are called the amygdala. When a stimulus comes from the outside, a red light is supposed to flicker in these almonds. That's how humans feel fear, anger, or joy. But my almonds seem to be broken. They are much smaller than everyone else's. So no matter the stimulus, the light rarely turns on. I don't understand why people laugh or why they cry. My mother was desperate to raise me to be normal. Our walls were covered in sticky notes of questions and answers. If a car comes, move out of the way. If someone smiles, lift the corners of your mouth. When someone finishes a sentence, nod your head. I acted like an actor on a massive stage called the world, memorizing a script I didn't write. While others wept at sad movies, I analyzed why their tears were falling. My mother taught me the correct answers. That's a sad scene, so you must look sad. I moved my muscles exactly as she taught me, but inside, I was always empty. My inner world was a silent, stagnant desert. On Christmas Eve, the day of my 16th birthday, it snowed. The world was blindingly white, and people sang of blessings. In the midst of that scenery, I watched my grandmother and mother being stabbed by a man. People screamed and scattered. I watched from the corner, unable to do anything. Or more accurately, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. As her blood spread across the white snow, my grandmother said her final words. "My pretty monster, I love you." My mother lost consciousness and fell into a vegetative state. I didn't cry. Tears wouldn't come. People called me a robot. Some whispered that I was creepy, but I just didn't have emotions. I didn't cry because I didn't know what sadness was. Even as the people I loved collapsed before my eyes, my heart kept beating at a perfectly steady rhythm. I realized much later that this was exactly what made me look like a monster. Listening to Yun-jae's calm, detached narrative makes the heart ache in a strange way. Who can truly imagine the solitude of a boy who remains expressionless, even before the tragedy of losing his family? It's heartbreaking to realize that the empathy we take for granted is, for someone else, a grueling, lifelong homework assignment. Yet, I find myself thinking that in a world filled with noisy, performative emotions, Yun-jae's silence might be the most honest thing of all. Part 2. When Two Monsters Meet. Goni. While I was looking after the used bookstore in my mother's place, a man named Professor Yun visited me. He told me he had found his son, who had been missing for 13 years. But his wife was dying, and his real son, Goni, was a troubled boy in a youth detention center. Professor Yun asked me for a favor, to pretend to be his son for his wife's final moments. I agreed. I had no reason to refuse. I held the dying woman's hand and uttered the word she longed to hear. Mom. To me, it was just the word. To her, it was the entire world. When the real son, Goni, appeared, he poured his hatred onto me immediately. He hit me, threatened me, and tried everything to get a reaction out of me. Hey, why don't you even blink? At least pretend to be scared, he would scream. But I felt neither pain nor fear. Goni was like a hedgehog, with his quills perpetually raised against the world. The memory of being abandoned and the feeling of being unwanted had turned him into a wild monster. We were different. I was a monster because I couldn't feel, and Goni was a monster because he felt too much. Goni started coming to the bookstore often, just sitting beside me. We shared a heavy silence instead of conversation. One day, he tore the wings off a live butterfly right in front of me. Does this really not affect you? I looked at the butterfly and said, it won't be able to fly anymore. Goni would get angry, then look utterly hollow. He was a boy who wanted to be loved more than anyone. He was screaming with his whole body for someone to acknowledge his pain. Something a scent deeper and more pungent than blood. It was the scent of loneliness. By hurting me, he was actually clinging to me. He wanted me to hurt like him, to be angry like him. Imagine these two vastly different boys sitting together in a quiet bookstore. One whose emotions are dried up, and one whose emotions are a raging storm. They look like mirrors, reflecting each other's voids. We often say having rich emotions makes us human, but uncontrolled emotions can become a poison that scars ourselves and others. I think Yun-jae instinctively recognized the deep isolation behind Goni's rough exterior. A wordless empathy was slowly seeping into the space between them. Part 3. The Scent of the Wind and Dora. Then, a girl named Dora appeared at school. She loved to run. Whenever I watched her on the track, I felt a strange vibration in a corner of my heart. My heart seemed to beat a little faster. Something tickled deep inside my chest. I didn't know how to define this physiological reaction. It wasn't in any medical dictionary, and it wasn't on my mother's sticky notes. Dora taught me about scents. Yun-jae, can't you smell it? The scent of grass, the earth, and the scent of people. When her lips lightly touched my cheek, I wondered for the first time, is this love that people talk about? This fluttering tickle? It was something not found in my mother's manual. When I was with Dora, the colors of the world seemed a bit deeper. It was as if a single drop of paint had fallen into my grayscale landscape. I began to understand, vaguely, what it meant to want to know someone. But as if jealous of my change, Goni sank deeper into the darkness. People framed him as a thief, and no one believed his words. Eventually, Goni dropped out of school and left to join a group led by a man known for his cruelty, the Steel Whip. People pointed fingers, calling Goni a lost cause. But I was worried. Worrying about someone isn't a calculation of the mind. It's an impulse of the body. Dora told me, go get him. You're the only one who can. To save Goni, I headed into that dark den. It was filled with the metallic scent of blood and a biting chill. There, under the shadow of death, I found him. Love and friendship are truly mysterious. They create a small crack in the heart of a boy who could feel nothing, and they force light through that gap. The excitement Yun-jae felt through Dora showed him that the world wasn't just a black and white stage, and that excitement evolved into the courage to save a friend. Isn't the desire to protect something the very thing that makes us most human? Part 4. Spilling Tears. The beginning of a miracle. The moment the blade pierced my body, I felt pain for the first time. It wasn't just physical. It felt as if the almonds inside me were expanding, ready to burst. I took hit after hit meant for Goni was sobbing. "Don't go. Please don't die, Yun-jae." His tears fell onto my face. As I lost consciousness, I thought, so this is what pain is. The heart that weeps for someone else is this hot. In the darkness, I faced countless memories. My grandmother's laughter, my mother's warm touch, and even Goni's trembling eyes as he cursed at me. All of it was pounding on my tiny almonds. Like a dam breaking open, emotions came rushing in. Fear. With my entire being, I welcomed that pain. It was the only proof that I was alive, that I was human when I opened my eyes in the hospital. Much later, the world looked completely different. Every color was vivid. I could read the emotions in the nurse's expression and the sound of the wind outside. And like a miracle, when I held her thin hand, I cried hot tears for the first time. The tears I couldn't shed when my grandmother died, the tears I swallowed when my mother became a vegetable, and all the nameless feelings I had gathered while meeting Goni and Dora. They poured out like a waterfall. I was no longer a robot. I was now an ordinary person who could cry when it hurt and laugh when it was joyful. As the tears ran down my cheeks and touched my lips, I tasted the salt and knew, finally, that I was whole. Yun-jae's long journey has come to an end. How are you feeling right now? Yun-jae's tears feel like a blessing that dampens all our hearts. The paradoxical moment where being able to feel pain becomes a miracle is deeply moving. In truth, we often close the doors to our hearts because we're afraid of being overwhelmed or hurt by our emotions. But through Yun-jae, we realize again the ability to feel pain, to feel sadness, and to willingly weep for the suffering of others is a noble human strength. The growth of Yun-jae's almonds wasn't a medical miracle. It was a miracle born of relationships. His mother's relentless love, his grandmother's warmth in calling him a pretty monster. The bond with Goni that endured even through the darkness, and Dora, who taught him the sense of the world. Those small hands reaching out are what opened Yun-jae's locked door. Empathy might not be a grand talent. Perhaps it's just looking into someone's eyes, nodding quietly to their story, and staying by their side when they are in pain. The author, Son Won-pyung, says that what makes us human and what makes us monsters is ultimately love. Around us, there might be other Yun-jaes or Gonis lost in a forest of emotion. If we can be the first to offer a warm gaze, to whisper, "You are not alone," wouldn't the world become a slightly better place? We all have the potential to be a light for someone else. I hope you never forget that your small warmth can be the strength someone else needs to stand up again. Tonight, before you drift off to sleep, gently stroke the almonds in your own heart. The weariness of the day, the small wounds given by others, and the unexpected little joys, all of it is evidence that you are alive. The courage to face pain, rather than avoid it, will make our hearts stronger and more beautiful. Thank you for spending this time with my story. I hope your tomorrow is a little kinder than today, and that small, nameless moments of peace stay quietly by your side. Now, leave all your worries to the night and have a peaceful dream. Good night. I wish you a very warm night.